Alright, welcome back. In this lesson, I'm going to introduce you to MongoDB, which is the main database that we'll use through most of the course. And by the end of the video, our goal is to have MongoDB installed. So let's start by talking about what is MongoDB, what type of database is it, and why are we using it. I briefly mentioned this in the last video, but MongoDB is a NoSQL or non-relational database. So our data will look like this, where it basically looks like JavaScript objects and arrays, key value pairs that we store in the database. And that means that it's very flexible and dynamic. But that's not really why we're using it, because to be honest with you, the stuff that we're going to be doing is doable in any of the databases that I could have picked from. And this is one of those decisions that I made where I could have gone either way. We could have learned Postgres, we could have learned MySQL, we could have learned Mongo. And the main reason that I decided on Mongo is that it's the most popular database right now with Node, with Express. There's a pretty popular stack that you might have heard of called the mean stack, and that stands for Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node. So we're going to do the men stack for now with no Angular. So that's Mongo, Express, and Node, and we have these two down. Now we need to learn about Mongo. And the other reason I decided on Mongo is that it has really good tools right now for us to use it inside of an Express app. So just to reiterate, there were a few options of databases that we could have picked from. By picking Mongo, I am not saying that you should always use Mongo, that it's the best thing in the world. In fact, it got so popular so quickly that there's been a backlash against it from a small part of the community in the last few years. And then there's been a backlash against that backlash, but it is somewhat controversial. Lots of companies are using it, and it's very quickly becoming one of the most popular databases. It's currently the most popular NoSQL database, and it's the third or fourth most popular database in general. Okay, so before we move on to installing it, let me show you the MongoDB homepage. So it's mongodb.org. You can read the docs here that will explain some of the methods, some of the syntax that you need to know. There's this university tab where they offer online courses, and you can watch some of these if you're interested. But you don't need this, you have another online course. So let's get back to installing it now. And what we need to do is install Mongo in our Cloud9 instance. And Cloud9, fortunately for us, has a nice set of instructions. So I'm going to walk you through it. What we need to do is run 3 simple commands, but they are important commands. So I'm going to ask you to watch me do it first before you follow along. So this will be 30 seconds of me running commands, and then you should do it on your own. But I just want you to pay attention pretty closely because these are important. What we need to do first is make a directory, and we're going to call it data, and that's where Mongo is going to store all of its information. So we need to make the directory, as you can see here, and then we need to tell Mongo that that data directory is where it should store all of the data, and we need to tell it where that directory is, which is what this command does. You don't need to worry about what exactly it does. You can read more here, but again, it just is telling Mongo to use our new data directory. And then we have to run this third command here, which will help change some of the permissions and settings so that things work smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. However, I'm going to move into a new directory, and the directory I'm going to go into is actually outside of this main web dev bootcamp directory. So right now, in my terminal, you can see I'm on the workspace. I'm actually going to cd one more level out, where now I see my workspace. And I don't have to do this. I can install this data directory anywhere, but I'm going to put it outside just so that you don't accidentally delete it. We don't accidentally mess with it at any point. So I'm going to do that now. Make directory data. Make this a little bit bigger. And I'll clear everything and make sure we see the data directory. And then I'm going to copy this line and paste that in and hit enter. And then the very last thing is running this line here, just like that. Okay. And now if we go back to the instructions, you can see that we've finished the 3 commands that we needed to run. And now we have Mongo installed. So all we have left to do is actually start Mongo, and we need to start what's called the Mongo daemon, which is basically a process that is going to start Mongo, and we're going to keep it running in the background for the rest of the course. And the command to do that looks like this: mongod, which is MongoDaemon. So we'll go back. We need to run this in the directory where we see mongod. It's the same directory where we installed data. And then we'll just paste that command in. And you should see a bunch of text. And this is the Mongo server that's now started. So it's a process that we started with this command right here. And then what we'll do is we'll leave this running. So I'm actually going to leave this tab open and make a new tab. You can do that here, +, new terminal. And this is where we'll work inside of for most of the course. We won't touch this because we want our database to always be running so that we can always connect to it. So let's try it now. There's a simple test. We can type the word Mongo and hit enter. And if our prompt changes, which it does, that means that everything's working just fine. And what we just did here by typing Mongo and hitting enter is we opened up the MongoDB shell, or the Mongo console, which is a place we can go to interact with our data, to debug things, just like the JavaScript console is a place we can debug, but it's not where we actually work most of the time. So that's all we'll do for now. Make sure you have this MongoDaemon running in the background at all times. If it ever stops, like let's say I accidentally stopped it, I can just run that command again. But I do need to make sure I'm in the right directory where we created that data folder. So leave this running, open up a new tab, and that's it for now. In the next lesson, I'm going to show you how you can start writing some Mongo code to interact with the database. Add things in, remove them, read them back out, all that fun stuff. All right, I'll see you then.